Tonight's story is an old one about a family of mice, a sleepy old cat, and a clever little plan that turned out to be harder than it sounded. Let's begin. In a cozy old barn, tucked behind bales of soft golden hay, there lived a family of mice, cousins and aunties, and a wise old grandmother mouse named Nana Willa. The barn was warm and full of good things to nibble: scattered grain, fallen apples, crumbs from the farmer's lunch. It was, in almost every way, a lovely place to live. Except for one small trouble. In the very same barn lived a large gray cat named Whiskers, who spent most of his days curled up asleep in a warm patch of sunlight, but who could wake, ever so quietly, and pad across the barn floor without making a single sound. The mice never knew quite when Whiskers might be awake, or resting, or padding softly nearby, and it left them all feeling a little jumpy, even on the calmest afternoons. One evening, the mice gathered together behind the hay bales for their weekly meeting, as they often did, to talk over anything troubling them. "I nearly bumped right into Whiskers this morning," said Cousin Pip, still looking a bit ruffled. "He moves so quietly, I never hear him coming." "Same happened to me last week," said Annie Fennel, nodding. "One moment the barn is empty, the next, there he is, just resting in the sunbeam, quiet as anything." The mice murmured worriedly amongst themselves. It wasn't that Whiskers had ever actually caught one of them. Mostly, he seemed content to nap in his warm sunny spot, but the not knowing left everyone feeling on edge. "We need a way to know when he's coming," Cousin Pip said. "Some kind of warning." A young mouse named Tibby, who hadn't said much yet, raised his little paw. "What if," Tibby said slowly, "we put a bell around his neck? Then, whenever he moved, we'd hear it jingling, and we'd always know where he was." The barn fell quiet for a moment, and then filled with excited murmurs. "That's brilliant," Cousin Pip said. "We'd never be surprised again." "A wonderful idea," Auntie Fennel agreed, nodding eagerly. Even Nana Willa, listening quietly from her spot near the hay, nodded slowly. "It is a clever idea," she said. "A very clever idea indeed." The mice cheered, delighted with themselves, already imagining calm afternoons with no more jumpy surprises. "So," Nana Willa said gently, once the excitement had settled a little, "who will be the one to place the bell around Whiskers' neck?" The barn went very quiet. Cousin Pip shifted his paws. "Well, I hadn't quite thought that far." "Surely someone brave enough thought of it," Auntie Fennel said, looking around hopefully. Tibby, who had come up with the idea in the first place, suddenly looked rather small. "I only meant the idea itself. I didn't think about who'd actually walk up to him." One by one, the mice looked at each other, and then at their paws, and then anywhere but at each other, as the excited chatter faded into an awkward, thoughtful silence. "It's a wonderful plan," Nana Willa said kindly, into the quiet. "But I think we've all just discovered something important. It's much easier to think of a clever idea than it is to be the one who carries it out." "So, no one's going to do it?" Tibby asked, a little deflated. "I didn't say that," Nana Willa said gently. "I only think we should be honest about how big a task this really is, before we go promising it'll be easy. That's not the same as giving up." The mice sat with this for a while, the earlier excitement settling into something quieter, more thoughtful. "I suppose," Cousin Pip admitted, "I got rather carried away imagining how nice it would feel, without thinking about the actual walking right up to a cat part." "That happens to everyone, dear," Nana Willa said warmly. "Big solutions often sound simple, until you look closely at the middle part, the part where somebody actually has to do the hard bit." "Then what do we do?" Auntie Fennel asked. "Just keep being startled?" Nana Willa thought for a long, quiet moment, her whiskers twitching gently as she considered. "Perhaps," she said slowly, "we don't need the biggest, boldest solution all at once. Perhaps we start with something smaller. Something none of us needs to be terribly brave to manage." "What do you mean?" Tibby asked, curious. "Well," Nana Willa said, "Whiskers always naps in that same warm sunbeam by the barn door, doesn't he? And he always stretches and yawns, quite loudly, before he gets up to wander." The mice thought about this, nodding slowly. It was true. Whiskers was rather noisy about waking up, even if he was silent once he started moving. "So instead of a bell on Whiskers himself," Nana Willa continued, "what if we simply kept a careful watch near that sunbeam? One or two of us, taking turns, just far enough away to be safe, ready to give a little warning squeak the moment he starts to stir. Tibby's ears perked up. That's actually much simpler than walking up and putting a bell on him. And nobody has to do anything terribly brave or dangerous, Cousin Pip added, relieved. So the mice agreed, and worked out a gentle little schedule between them. One mouse keeping careful watch near the sunbeam each afternoon, taking turns so no one grew too tired of the job, ready to give a soft warning squeak the moment whiskers began to stir. It wasn't quite as clever sounding as a bell around the cat's neck. It didn't make for as exciting a story to tell. But it worked. Slowly, over the following weeks, the mice found their jumpy, startled feeling fading, replaced by a calm, steady sense of knowing. And on the evenings when it wasn't their turn to watch, the mice found they could relax properly, trusting that whoever was on watch would give them fair warning. That evening, the mice gathered again behind the hay bales, this time for a much calmer, quieter meeting. I think, Nana Willa said gently, looking around at her family. We learned something rather useful today. Big, clever ideas are wonderful to imagine. But it's all right, too, to look honestly at how hard something might be and choose a smaller, gentler way instead. I still think the bell was a good idea, Tibby said, a small smile returning to his face. It was, Nana Willa agreed warmly. Good ideas don't need to be the ones we actually use to still be worth having. Sometimes they simply help us find our way to the smaller, easier idea hiding just behind them. The mice settled down together in their warm nest of hay, tired now in a good, peaceful way, no longer jumpy, no longer worried. And little one, if ever something feels too big or too hard to do all at once, remember Nana Willa's mice. It's all right to look for the smaller, gentler way instead. Now, close your eyes and let yourself settle, soft and warm, into your own cozy nest. Your eyes growing heavy, heavier still. Time to rest, safe and calm, just like the little mice in their warm barn. I'll see you next time.